Everyone, thank you for being here tonight and welcome to Bike 102. I am so glad you're here. I'm Alyssa Treadaway and I'm a member of your Try It for Life board. To tell you the truth, I only do tries because I get to ride my bike. It is by far my most favorite of the disciplines. I was a runner when I joined Try It for Life. But after I got on my bike the very first time, it was over, and now I am all about the bike. Our presenter, Donna Z, kind of has that in common with me. She's an athlete and coach at Total Cyclist. She started as a triathlete in 2012. She tells me her swimming is okay. Her running was not her thing, but she fell in love with cycling. She did 9 Rambling Rose tries before she hung up her running shoes and her fins, and now she focuses on just cycling.
Sorry, sugar.
Affiliated with our, hey Donna, mute yourself. She's been affiliated with our sponsor, Total Cyclist, since 2016, and she's been a part of more camps and clinics than she can count. So I am now going to turn it over to Donna Z and her lovely assistant, Jennifer, who's going to help work the camera for us.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I appreciate this opportunity to come and talk with some of the ladies here and talk about some of the things that I had no idea about when I started riding a bicycle. And we're going to keep it simple, ladies, because that's the only way I know how to do this stuff. Because even though I've ridden for a while, it's been crazy on understanding all of the intricacies. So we're going to keep it up at this high level, maybe even use some layman's terms that we've made up and have some fun with this. So we're going to talk about gears. So if you rode a bike when you were younger, at least I'm going to show my age here. When I rode it when I was younger, I didn't have many gears. It was, you pedal and you go backwards to do the brakes. So kids' bikes are that way now. But as we, the technology improved, it started adding all of these gears. So we've paid a lot of money for all these gears. So let's learn how to use them. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just talk about the bike a little bit so you can understand the parts. So the first thing we're going to look at here is in the front. Okay, we have this thing that is where you have your pedal, and this is called a crank arm. And when I was talking about some layman's terms, we had a lady decide that this was called the pedal stick. So a lot of us call it a pedal stick because it makes more sense to us. It's a pedal and it looks like a stick. So anyway, it's actually called a crank arm. Then we have a big chain ring in the front here. So that's the big one. That's where my chain is right now. And then Jennifer's going to try to show you on the inside, we have a little chain. So we have 2 rings in the front on the bike. You might have older technology. You might have a bike that has 3. Still works all the same way. It's just that there's 3 instead of 2. And then the last part in the front is the front derailleur. That's this part here. And what the derailleur does for you is when we shift up on our handlebars, I'm going to show you later, it moves the chain from the big ring to the small, or the small ring up to the big ring. Derailleur. We haven't come up for a layman's term for that. So if you want to call it something else, let us know what you come up with. We always like to hear some things that maybe make more sense to people. Most people probably know what this is. This is our chain. And then we move to the back. So in the back, we have a cassette. This is called a cassette. There's different kinds of numbers of gears on here, depending on what you get on your bike. But we have a cassette here. And also in the back here, we have a rear derailleur. And works the same way. The derailleur, when we change our gears on the handlebars, it will move it either up or down to the appropriate gear. And then we have these 2 little like wheels down here, 2 little gears, and they're called pulleys, sometimes referred to as jockey pulleys. And that's all part of this whole rear derailleur system. And to be honest with you, I don't know exactly what it does, but it does the job it's supposed to do with the chain. So if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. So that's the back part of the bike. So cassette, derailleur, rear derailleur, has some jockey pulleys. Back here is the chain.
Donna, your chain is like the cleanest I've ever seen on a bike that's not brand new.
That's what I was just thinking.
Okay, I'm going to explain that because, well, first of all, I do clean my chain quite often and lube it. And there's a cool little tool that you can buy, look it up on Amazon, that makes it real easy to clean. However, I just had my bike tuned up about a week and a half ago, and they take it all apart. They soak it in degreaser. They make everything look brand new. So that's probably why it looks that way. Not so much that I've kept it so clean. But that is a really good point. That is one of the things that you do want to, and I don't know if we're going to have a clinic on it, on bike maintenance, but keeping your chain clean is really important. So that was a really good point, but thank you. All right, so back to the front, we have what I call the pedal stick. It's the crank arm. Just a reminder what we've talked about. We have a big ring and a small ring. So now you got all this stuff here, and you go, now what do I do with it? What does it do? I don't understand. So when you have in the front, you have 2 or possibly 3 of these rings. If you're in the big chain ring, that means it's going to give you the most resistance. It's going to be the hardest to pedal. Okay. You move down to the small chain ring, that's going to make it easier. All right. Now it's really important to understand this before we move to the back. The big chain ring in the front is more resistance. It's going to be harder or more effort to be able to turn the pedal. The little chain ring is easier with less effort. Okay. Now, because I don't know who designed this, but because it's designed this way, it's the opposite in the back. If you're in the big gear in the back, the largest gear, that is going to be the easiest. And if you're in the littlest gear in the back, that's the hardest. So opposite of what we just said about the front. So if I want to be in the easiest gear I can be on my bike, I'm going to be in my big gear in the back and the little gear in the front. That's what I want to be in to climb hills, to do anything when I'm really struggling, or if it just feels really hard, I want to be in an easy gear. A lot of us call it a granny gear. And, you can call it, people call it different things. Go into a bigger ring, go into a smaller ring, go in a harder gear, go in an easier gear. So you'll hear people say a lot of different things, but just once you understand what they're talking about, then you'll know what to do. Okay. So likewise, let's say I'm going down a hill and I'm pedaling away and I'm pedaling away and I'm going, and I don't seem like I'm going any faster. Well, that means you probably are in too easy of a gear. So you'll want to move to your big chain ring in the front and then move yourself down into a smaller gear in the back. Not necessarily the smallest. That's more on the lines of professional, but you could be going down a hill and comfortable doing 50 miles an hour. I've never done that. Even if I did try to do it, I'd probably be too scared. But and then that way you'll get be able to get some speed up without just spinning your wheels. Okay. So let's just go back one more time just to talk about it. If I'm going to want to be the hardest or the most effort, like going down a hill, I want to be in my big chain ring in the front and one of the smaller ones in the back. Probably, you may want to come around this angle here, Jen, and just say probably like in the middle here, maybe down a couple of more. If you're going down a hill and you're going pretty fast and it doesn't take much effort because gravity's doing the work. But if you're going up a hill, you're most likely wanting to be in your small ring. And wait, hold on. I just got that backwards. Hold on.
So reverse everything you just heard.
Well, wait, because, okay,
No.
if you're going to do the easiest, you get the small ring in the front and the big ring in the back. I did have
So
it
if we're going downhill,
No, this
which
is
way
going,
do you want?
okay, going downhill, you do possibly your big ring in the front
Okay,
and your little ring in the back.
that's going downhill.
Yes.
So now if we're climbing a hill,
Yep.
we are going to do the opposite.
Small ring
Up front
up front
and a
and a
big
big
ring
gear in the back. Okay.
I think you said it correctly.
I think I did too. I just started to get off track there and thought I got it backwards. Okay.
Got it.
So that's the gearing. Now you go, well, that's great, Don. You just told me about the gearing. Well, how do I make it work? Okay, so let's go to the front of the bike. Everybody's bike is going to be different. Okay, or it should be somewhat similar, but if you have a hybrid or you have, a crossover type bike or you have electronic shifting, it may be a little different. So I'm going to show you what I have, and it's something that you will want to practice on your bike and just be able to see what to do. So the first thing to remember is right side is rear. R for right, R for rear. So this gearing changes, does the rear derailleur. Left hand does your front. Okay. So in the front, right now I'm in my big chain ring. And if I shift my gear, and you'll have, like I said, now it's my front one, or yeah, the closest one to me was the one I pressed. Okay. That makes it go from the big ring to the small ring. And now I'm going to show you, because I did the gearing, but now I have to pedal in order for it to move. So since I'm not on the bike riding, I just lift the bike up here. You can always do it with your shoulder or just lift it up with your right hand. And as I'm going to have you look to where the gear is, if you can see where the gear is. And as I pedal, it's going to go down to the small ring. Okay. Let's do that one more time. This time I'm going to go and I'm going to click my lever that's the furthest away from my hand. We're going to come back over. And you ready to see it go? Okay, so I'm going to lift it up and I'm going to pedal, and it's going to go to the big ring. Okay. So the left hand, I'm going to tell you as a beginner, I did not use that big ring hardly at all. Because first of all, if I was going down a hill, I didn't want to go too fast. So I didn't need to go in my big ring. So chances are, as you're getting into riding your bike, you're going to just leave it in your small ring. Okay. So let's talk about the right hand, because the right hand is one that you're going to use a lot, because in the back, as you saw, the gears are much smaller in size as you switch from one gear to another. So it's more gradual. It's not going to be a big change like going from a big ring to the small ring in your front. So on your right hand works the same way, whatever way you find out on your bike. So if I want to go to, on my bike, if I want to go to an easier gear, I do the one. Sometimes I don't remember when I'm not riding the bike. I think if I go the easiest one on the front, it's going to go to an easier gear, but we'll see.
Okay.
Because this is another thing that I want you to know, that this takes practice. And I've ridden since 2012, and there's still times that I hit the wrong one and I want to go easier and I hit the wrong one and I go harder one and I go, oops, I got to go with the other button or the other son. So just realize it happens to all of us, and we all start from somewhere at the beginning. So we've all been there. So it's not like I got on a bike and all of a sudden knew how to ride it and switch gears. I didn't. Okay, so now let's see what I did if I actually made it easier.
Donna, I bet it's hard to talk about it too. Like, I know how to do what you're saying, but I can't tell you which of my levers I use, the front one or the back one. I just do it because I know how to do it and I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, it becomes second nature sometimes, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and lift it up and I'm gonna turn it and see if we go easier or harder. Okay, we actually went harder. So my front, if I clicked on the front, it made it go harder. Now with my bike, it can go more than one gear at a time. It's electronic shifting, so a matter of how much I hold it, it can shift 2 or 3 gears at a time. But most of the time, before I got the electronic and I just hit it once, it would just switch one gear. And so once you switch the gear and you're pedaling, you're going to know whether, oh, did that get easier? Okay, then yeah, that feels good. Oh, no, it doesn't. I think I need it one easier. So then you press it again, and as you're pedaling, it will automatically switch. So let me go with the other one and see if we can make it go harder. Or easier, I'm sorry, easier.
Yep, there you go.
And it went easier. Yeah, as you can see, it went from a small ring up to a bigger one. And that'll make it easier to ride. So that's the things that I would recommend that you practice on. You got to practice, practice, practice. Things will become second nature to you then, and be able to, and as you're riding, if all of a sudden it's starting to get hard for you and you're going, oh, this is getting to be a struggle, I'm out of breath, go to an easier gear in the back. And you've got a lot of them, so use them. So Melissa, I'll turn this back over to you. Do you have any questions in the chat, or does anybody have any questions for me?
Hey, Donna, this is Allie.
Yes.
Can you just reinforce that when you're shifting gears, you need to be pedaling?
Very good point, Allie. That's excellent. Yes. If you're not, I mean, technically you can get by without pedaling, but it's not suggested. Because as you can see, I shifted the gear and then I started to move the pedals. But it really is smart to do it when you're pedaling, because otherwise your gears, sometimes you may be changing your gears and you'll hear clunk, 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 clunk. And that's just really hard on your cassette in the back, and that can cause some issues. The other thing is that you may run into an issue where your chain will come off, you know, if you're not pedaling. So very good point. Thank you for bringing that up, Allie.
So Jen Mickus told us she had a light bulb moment while you were talking. What was that, Jen? Will you share?
I'm coming. Yeah. Yeah, like obviously I've been riding for a while, but I've never thought about which way the gears on the back go. It's always confused me when people are like, go up, go down. I'm like, but which one is which? So like going to the big, like seeing it in the reverse of the front to the back.
Yeah.
Light bulb.
Very good. Yay. You know, I've like I said, riding almost 10 years now, and I still have light bulb moments when I'm talking about the basics. And, you know, the basics are really important to get a good foundation, and Try It for Life is an excellent resource for helping people do that. So very good. I'm so glad to hear that, Jen. That makes me happy.
You taught me like my very first stuff on my bike. So like
Yeah.
what hand is rear.
Hey, Donna, this is Allie again.
Yes.
Oh gosh, did I just forget? Oh, could you talk about when you're riding and you're slowing down and you're getting ready to stop, what should you be doing?
Okay, excellent question. Yes, when you're getting ready to stop, you really want to shift into an easier gear. Sometimes you just come down a hill and you got a stop sign or a stoplight, and you're going to be in, you know, a harder gear because you're going downhill. So you want to try to get in the habit of gearing to an easier gear. So that way, when you stop and you get ready to start again, it'll be easier for you to get started. I don't know how many times that has happened to me. And it still happened. The other day it happened to me that I forgot. And all of a sudden the light turns green and I start to go and I go, oh no, I'm in the wrong gear. And I'm just pedaling and pedaling very, very slowly to get going. And so, yes, very good question again. So you want to get in the habit of getting into an easier gear as you go to stop. And then once you get going at the light, then you can shift into a little bit harder gear.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Donna, for our beginners especially, you showed us the gears, the cassette, I guess is the right word for it. You showed us the cassette. How important is it for us to know where our chain is in that cassette? Like I don't usually look at it. I'm just kind of going by feel. Is that normal, or should I really be paying attention to that and knowing where I am in the cassette?
I would say that when you first get your bike out ready to ride, you probably want it back, and I'll have Jen show it, somewhere in the middle here. And the reason I would say that is because that's somewhat on the easier side, and making sure that your front is in the small ring to get started, because then that way you have room to move it. You can either go to a bigger gear in the back and make it even easier, or you can go to a smaller gear in the back and make it a little harder. So that might be something to look at, especially as you're learning, because otherwise the first time you get on the bike and you pedal, you're going to know right away whether you're in a gear that's going to be easy to do or not so easy to do for an effort from you. So I would just say, if you can think about doing it along with all the other million things that people tell you to think about before you get on your bike, that probably would be helpful. But it's not really necessary, because you'll figure it out pretty quickly.
I've got a question in the chat. How fast can you change gears or not change gears to prevent skipping gears?
Well, a lot of that's going to depend on your shifting. Like you saw with mine, with electronic shifting, if I just tap it, it'll go one gear at a time. If I hold it a little bit, it'll go 2 or 3. So you have to look at your specifics for your bike and kind of, play with that to see how many it'll do. But one thing you do want to keep in mind is you do not ever want to shift your left one, which is your front, and your right one, which is your back, at the same time. That's a quick way for the chain to come off, or for things just to not work right, because you really need to do one first and then the other. And the recommendation is to do your right one first, and then if you're going to do something, then do your left one, which you're moving just slightly in your back to a easier or harder gear. And then if you needed to do something with your front chain ring, then you do your left one to change either from small to big or big to small.
Some of our
Hey,
ladies
Doc,
ride hybrids. Is it the same on a hybrid as it would be on a road bike in terms of right and left at least?
I believe so. I would think so, but I haven't been on a hybrid. I have to admit to you, I have not. So I don't know. Does anyone on the call have a hybrid that they could help maybe with?
It's the same.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Hey, Donna, it's Allie again. Could
Yep.
you kind of emphasize as beginners, when you're changing gears, I'm talking about on the right, so changing gears in the back, you want to do that slowly, right? You don't want to do you don't want to hit it like 3 times and go up 3 gears. You know what I'm saying? Can we talk
Correct.
about that? Yeah. Can we talk about that?
Yes, because, and the reason why we want to go slowly is because then that way, as you're pedaling, you're going to realize whether that's feeling like the right gear for you. And what might feel like the right gear for me is going to be different for Jen or for Allie or for anybody, Melissa. You know, it's all going to feel different because it's all based on the effort that you're feeling on the bike. So yeah, you want to move 1 gear at a time so you can get the feel of it.
Maybe like 2 or 3 pedal strokes
Yeah, that's a
before you
great idea.
maybe think of changing again.
Right.
So that gives you time to see what it feels like.
Good point. Good
Maybe
point.
2 or 3.
Yep.
That's kind of what I do.
Yeah. And
That's the
experiment with.
lovely assistant Jen in the background.
Hi.
I have another question in the chat, but first I think I cut somebody off. Did someone else have a question? Okay, I'm going to go with the chat question then.
Okay.
This one's tough, I think, Donna. How many speeds are considered adequate? I think maybe she means gears.
Okay.
How many speeds or gears are considered adequate?
Okay. Well, I don't know for sure the answer. I'm going to give this is going to be my total opinion because I've never had that question asked of me. So this is my opinion. You know, most bikes are 10 speeds. When you think about just a bike you can buy is a 10 speed. So I'm thinking 10 speeds is probably a good amount of gears that you can have. And understand that when you have 2 rings in the front, so if I have 10 gears in the back, and when I'm talking about 10 speed, that would be gears in the back, how many of these gear rings I have, then that would be 10. But then since I have 2 rings in the front, that gives me really 20 different speeds. So
I don't know that. Like
yeah,
moment for me.
so what mine is an 11 speed in the back. You can get up to 12 speed. And what you're gaining by getting more speeds when you're doing that, more gears, is that you have less of a difference when you change a gear because you have more of those gears in the back. And so there's less of a change when you either make it easier by 1 or harder by 1.
More gradual.
It's more
changes.
gradual. Very good. Thank you. And that was a tough question. And I have the right to come back and correct that if I was totally wrong on that answer.
I think you handled it well. How often should a bike go through maintenance?
You know, this is an interesting question because I just found out the answer to this last a week and a half ago when I took my bike in. And I've been riding bikes for almost 10 years. You should get a maintenance done if you're riding your bike a lot, definitely during what we call in season, which is from about March until October. You should get your bike tuned up before the season starts and get it tuned up again at the end of the season. So about every 6 months. If you're riding it more often, you might want to get it tuned up a little sooner. And the advantage of that, similar to what we were talking about, Melissa, with how clean the chain looked. Well, the things that will end up happening is they'll clean everything, they'll check everything out, they'll lube things, they'll make sure everything's in working order. And if you do that regularly, then you don't have to replace parts as often. If you don't keep your chain clean, you're probably going to have to get a new chain sooner than somebody that keeps it clean. The cassettes, the same type of thing, you know, keeping your bike clean, and in all respects, that's going to help, and making sure everything's in adjustment. If you start hearing clicking sounds, then maybe your derailleur is a little off and needs just a slight adjustment. Now that doesn't take a full tune-up, but if you do hear any noises or anything like that, it's always wise to either ask somebody that does know how to do my bike maintenance, which that wouldn't be me when it comes to things that are clicking and making noises. But, you know, you could ask them and they could either say, well, it's not something I can do, but take it to the bike mechanic and have them check it out. And a lot of times that's a simple thing to do. Or your brakes you seem to be pulling your brakes really hard and becoming almost, you know, totally done. You probably need that adjusted. So yeah, it's important to get things checked out.
So Donna, I'm going to take the next two questions because I have the answer in front of me and you may not.
Okay.
Someone asked, how do I clean the chain? And then the next person said, how do you clean the chain and other parts of the bike? So Total Cyclist is sponsoring an in-person clinic on Sunday, July 25th at 9 a.m. at Park Road Park. We haven't announced this yet, but we will put it out on Facebook. It's for only a few people, about a dozen people. So keep a lookout for it and sign up for it just as soon as it comes out. But probably Donna and Chad are going to go through general maintenance and really cover things like how you put the chain back on if it comes off, how you change a tire, how you clean the chain, those sorts of basic general maintenance things for us. So put that on your calendar. We've got, I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong date. Saturday, July 24th is going to be a half-day camp. Sunday, July 25th is going to be the general maintenance clinic. They're doing both of them. It's a whole weekend of Total Cyclist.
Okay.
What other questions do you all have? Allie,
Melissa,
I know you've got more you
they
want to talk about. Come on, Allie.
Well, that must mean that everybody knows everything about changing gears, and I did an awesome job.
Yes.
But if you do have any further questions that you think of tonight or tomorrow or next week, you can always send us an email at info@totalcyclist.com. We would be glad to get an answer for you, or check out our Facebook page.
Donna, it's Allie.
Hey, I have a question.
Go
Okay.
ahead. I'll follow you.
My question is, you know, if we're coming off the run, I had to think about that for a second. If we're coming off the run and we're getting our legs going, what kind of gear should we be in to start the bike?
Are you coming out?
And like,
if
we're coming to a stop at like a stop sign with like a couple of people, should we be in a harder gear or an easier gear? You know, when we start back out.
From if you're doing your triathlon and you're in transition, you're talking about?
Yep.
Okay.
As well as like a group ride.
It's what, so you want to have your bike set up in a fairly easy gear to get started, because if you're in too hard of a gear, it's going to be so treacherous to try to you're just gonna be
Get
so
your
bogged down. So you want to be in your small, I would recommend the small ring in the front and maybe halfway in the middle in the back. But that's something that's also a personal preference. So when you're out riding the bike, before you put it, in the bike stand, you might want to ride it and just say, does this feel comfortable for me to start from a stop? Because that's what I'm going to have to do when I get on the bike. It's going to be from a stop. Did that answer your question, Don?
Yep, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, it's Allie again.
Okay.
One more thing. Could you talk I think you did a really nice job about right hand, rear gears. Talk about the brakes. Left brake, right brake. Talk about that.
Who uses brakes?
Come on now. You got to be safe out there.
So if you're left brake, then should,
So I don't think about it, but I think this is right. That your right brake is your rear brake.
wouldn't that go? to
That's
the rear tire?
correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And your left brake is your front. And most of the time I hit both brakes at the same time. I don't try to hit one brake or the other. I try to do both brakes because you don't want to go over your handlebars. And that's something that's an excellent question to ask or to try. Walk your bike. You don't even have to be on your bike, and you can just be rolling your bike, hit the left brake hard and see what happens to your bike. Then roll it again, hit your right brake, see what happens to your bike. Then try doing both hands.
Definitely recommended to not just mash down on the left one.
Correct, because that's going to do that could send you over the handlebars in a hurry.
So Donna, I'm going to read something that Chad, the owner of Total Cyclist, sent to me to tell us what Total Cyclist is. I didn't do that at the beginning, and I probably should have. But then I thought it would be good for you to tell us a little bit about what Total Cyclist is. And your shirt says Pain Cave. And I suspect people don't know what a pain cave is. So at Total Cyclist, the mantra is to assess, prepare, and implement and succeed. This is a 4-step process, regardless of your sport, and it will help you become the total cyclist, or what we like to call the complete athlete. We know how to coach, whether it's in one of our training centers, at one of our amazing camps, or on one of our personal coaching trips anywhere in the world. They offer private coaching, cycling camps. They call them Dude and Diva camps, by the way. Wellness and nutrition coaching, and informational live shows for people all over the world. Real life coaching for real world people. You want to tell us what all that means? What is Total Cyclist? What do you guys do?
Pretty much what that was said, but yeah, so Total Cyclist, the pandemic kind of changed a little bit of what Total Cyclist is doing. In reference to the Pain Cave, we had training centers where you would come into the center, and we had smart trainers that you would hook your bike up to, and we would do training classes that way. So it was done indoors. It was a training plan for each of the seasons, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. And we would do it as a group. But each person, the training was individualized too. So it was at your level. If there was a guy next to me that is much, much stronger than me, I wouldn't be doing my workout at the same level as that person, but I would be doing it at a level that made it easy, and made it challenging for myself. With the pandemic, unfortunately, we don't have training centers right now. That may happen again coming into the fall or winter. We're waiting to see how things pan out for being indoors to do things like that. So we still offer those same training classes, and we do it through our Trainer Day app. And that's something that you can sign up for and get those training classes and do them on your own indoor trainer. So just go to our Total Cyclist website and you can get that information. And then along with that, we, as was said, we do clinics. We do 4-hour clinics, half-day clinics. We also have done some clinics for mountain biking as well as road and gravel. And then we have multi-day camps, and they can be anywhere in the world. We've gone to Canada, we've gone to Mexico, we've gone to Asheville and Greenville that are a little closer to Charlotte area. But we do those, so also look on our website to see when those camps are coming up. And then, as Melissa said, we do maintenance clinics. We do other kinds of clinics where we're teaching you how to clip in, things of, how to do cornering, how to descend, how to climb mountains or hills. So we do a variety of things. And then the last thing is the coaching and the wellness training. We are coaches that can help you out on an individual basis. If there's something that you want to train for specifically, or maybe you want to just get better at what you're doing, we can offer that and hook you up with a coach that you get along with on a personal basis.
Thank you. Remember, so Donna, Chad, and I did a little practice yesterday, and Chad made a really big deal about Donna not letting anything get in the picture to distract us. Remember when he said that, Donna?
Yeah.
So at least one person on the call is distracted by the little signs behind you. So will you turn the camera to those and tell us what they are? I think one says breathe.
Yes, the top one says just breathe. And that's the one that this is my office that we're doing this in. And I have to tell myself that probably 100 times a day. But that's true whether it's I'm working or I'm on bike or anything. It's just breathe. And then the other one is one about I choose, to live by choice, not by chance, to make changes, not excuses, to be motivated, not manipulated, to be useful, not used, to excel, not to compete. I choose self-esteem, not self-pity. I choose to listen to my inner voice, not the random opinions of others. And of course, it's got a bicyclist on there. So one thing that I have worked on that was a couple of years ago was that I have a choice in life and to do what I want to do for me. And so I one of the things was to become more active, to lose weight, to be healthier, and riding a bicycle, well, starting with the triathlons was just amazing for me. So congratulations to all of you athletes and the mentors on the call for making that step of that leap of faith to go ahead and do something like this, because I am so passionate about the bicycle right now. I think of it when I wake up and can't wait to get on my bike and, at the end of the workday. So congratulations to each one of you for making that step.
Okay, ladies, this is your last chance. Any other questions for Donna? I'm going to put a link in the chat to a YouTube video that Chad Andrews put together about gears. I watched it yesterday, and it is really, really good and really helpful. So it's like 15 minutes long. Take a look and watch it. Copy that down and watch it when you get a few minutes, because it's totally worth it. And the other thing I wanted to do is repeat those dates. So signups we'll probably wait a couple of weeks before we put them out. But as part of their sponsorship, they're doing Just for Us, Just for Try It for Life ladies, on Saturday, July 24th at 9 a.m. at Park Road Park. There'll be a half-day camp for 20 of our athletes, and that will give you a chance to get tips from a pro right before your race, and it will include some riding. That camp will include some riding. And then Sunday, July 25th at 9 a.m. at Park Road Park, there'll be a general maintenance clinic, and that will be for athletes and mentors. And this one's going to cover things like changing your tires. We've realized some of us mentors who thought we knew how to change a tire things changed when they came out with disc brakes, and now some people have disc brakes and don't know how to change their tire anymore. So changing tires, cleaning the bike, cleaning the chain, those sorts of things will be covered in that. Those are of course free. It's a donation that Total Cyclist is making as part of their sponsorship. So keep an eye out because there is no charge for those. And it's kind of first come, first serve when registration opens. If nobody has anything else, I just want to thank you all for your time and thank Donna for sharing her expertise with us. And thank you to Total Cyclist again for sponsoring our organization. I encourage all of you to make the most of your Try It for Life training and enjoy the ride.